Working on a neighbor's tiller, and it's never good when you got it down this far. So I thought I'd bring you guys along and show you what I do when I need to repower something. When I've decided that it's no longer feasible to fix something and we need to give it a new engine and a new life, or a new used engine, and make it continue its life. This is just a early 90s MTD Yard Machines tiller that still runs and works great, but not so much on the engine. The engine was knocking and burning a ton of oil. It's just a 5 horsepower Briggs that isn't worth the cost to actually repair it. It really isn't. It's going to cost me more to repair this and more time and effort than it is just to buy one of these Chinese engines. Let me show you. One of these. And if you don't know what this is a Chinese engine. This is a Predator. They go under a bunch of different names, but essentially they are a Honda clone. In other words, China has reverse engineered an exact copy of a Honda engine. I just happen to have a Honda engine for you. This is a GX160. This is a Predator 212. So they've reverse engineered it, added a little bit more oomph, a little bit more horsepower by adding a little more size, but functionally it's an identical engine. Internally, everything, they've changed a couple little things to make it look different, but the very first ones looked identical to an actual Honda. But a lot of the parts are interchangeable. Carbs and mufflers and internal parts, pistons, everything is identical. You can just swap them around, change them around. But these have a hefty price tag. These have a price tag of about $100. So it doesn't take much to decide it's not worth it on a piece of equipment. It's not worth it to rebuild the old Briggs and Stratton and throw one of these on. I'm going to go into a little bit of some of the problems you'll run into adapting engines. A lot of people don't know that you can just swap around a lot of small engine stuff. But I'll go into a little bit of those issues. And another place I get engines is, probably the best place to get engines, is old pressure washers. Pressure washers are notorious for blowing out their pumps, and pressure washers have these 4 mounting holes that are required on a lot of tillers, stuff like that. They'll have those mounting holes, and generally they'll have a 3/4 inch shaft, unless it's a bigger pressure washer, 9 horsepower or something, then they'll have a 1 inch shaft. But pressure washers are an amazing source to get a Honda engine or something else in the $25 to $50, $75 range. I couldn't come up with one for this, but usually that's what I would do. So this one I'm just going to run a new engine. But some of the issues we generally run into are fitment issues as far as muffler blowing the opposite way. In this situation, it is blowing directly at the operator, but the old engine was blowing that way too. So not a huge deal. I can live with that. I got plenty of clearance because this was a Briggs engine that had a gas tank over here, but it gave me plenty of clearance. The mounting holes on the bottom are generally common between all of them. They're very close, so generally you don't have to worry about much of that. One of the biggest pain in the butts that you're going to have to worry about is this pulley. I'm going to grab the pulley right here. There's your pulley that actually drives the equipment. And this one off this engine was actually a off the Briggs engine. The original engine was a 2-piece. So they had 2 pieces. What I did was just weld it up and do a little pilot hole. But I'm going to tell you right now, don't waste all your effort trying to pull these pulleys off, because I've seen some on there so tight that you'll never get them off. For $7, just buy a new pulley, and I'll put a link below of a good place to actually where you can buy some pulleys for cheap, and it'll save you a ton of headaches. So well, that took me a whopping 10 minutes to swap the new engine on. 10 minutes even installing the cable so the throttle operates like it should. You can operate the throttle down on here. You don't have to install a cable if the cable's bad. But got the oil in it. Now let's just put some gas in it and give it our very first jump to life. Well, I failed. I made the assumption that this was steel, but it is cast iron. I welded on it, and the welds look like they took really well, so I assumed that it was steel, but nope. Just like I said before, if you have issues with a pulley, just go buy a new one, and that's what I should have done in this situation. But I'm going to fix my situation. Take a cut off now. It's all heated up. It's riveted. There you go. You essentially got a blacksmith together pulleys now. Just heads of the nails are right there, the original heads, and then it's peened over so it can't pull through. And when it was heated up, you know, the nail was a little bit longer, and as it cooled, it pulls it in, so it pulls it in tight all the way around. The belt doesn't ride all the way down in the groove, it actually rides up on top, so it won't even touch those nails, but that's mechanically fastened together permanently. It's not going anywhere, so onto the tiller it goes, back into service. You really can't beat the price for what you get. Runs extremely smooth. The very first one I ever did was about 10 years ago on a Troy-built tiller, a horse tiller, and that thing ran amazingly beautiful back then. I couldn't believe it for the price, what you get. I guess you gotta love Honda engineering, reverse engineered into an economical package. They run smooth, they seem to have amazing longevity. I was a little skeptical at first. The things that do kind of fail on them are, at least back then, were the rubber parts. They used cheaper like rubber hoses and stuff like that, and those would kind of fall off. Some things like the snap-on or the screw-on plastic air filter cover, and some of the bolts would vibrate loose. So check your bolts every once in a while. Some of the rubber parts are cheaper, but from what I've seen, even from the one 10 years ago, these have come leaps and bounds further. But generally, I do prefer to go repurpose an old engine off of a pressure washer, just because I can get a Honda or something else to that effect that you know is just a little bit better quality. Even a good Briggs I like a little bit better, but that's just because I like working on stuff, I guess, right? But for the money, you can't be beat. I'll just put the cover back on, I'll be done. But total, I mean, if I was just to, I spent more time trying to diagnose the old engine, trying to play around with that, trying to think about fixing that. If I was to start to finish, I could easily just go buy a new engine and in 25 minutes to a half hour, completely pull an engine off, put the new one on, and be done. I can't even do a carburetor. I can barely clean a carburetor in that time. So sometimes the price of carbs will even beat it. Well, hopefully you guys enjoy watching that. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up, subscribe, and see you guys soon. Bye. YouTube, meet Old Smokey. Let's see if we can fire it up.